don't they like me? I'm afraid to go to school. How do I handle this? Maybe I'm too sensitive. Why won't my friends stand up for me? I'm not good enough.
So guys, today we are going to be continuing in our conversation around bullying. And now I know what you're thinking, Joe, how could you possibly have any experience with bullying? You are so cool and so popular. But guys, that is not the case, all right? So listen up, okay? I was the homeschooled Christian kid when I was growing up, and I made some rather unique, we're gonna call it unique, fashion choices, okay? So like this, or like that. Yeah, guys, I got picked on a lot, okay? And you know what? Bullying is so common that odds are we're gonna all have to deal with it at some point. And so what we have to figure out is, how do we respond to bullying? What do we do when bullying happens? And one of my favorite examples of this in the Bible is the story of Joseph. You see, Joseph was a dude that lived several thousand years ago, and he had to answer this question for himself. So let me tell you a little bit about his story. There's a lot more that you can read in Genesis, but I'm just gonna give you the highlights, all right? So first thing you need to know is Joseph's situation. You see, Joseph had tons of brothers, okay? He had 11 brothers, and 10 of them were older than him. And his dad loved Joseph the most. You see, Joseph was the favorite child, and he made sure that it was obvious to the rest of the brothers that Joseph was his favorite, like painfully obvious, guys. Like, he would get him special gifts and give them to Joseph and not give one to everyone else. Like, could you imagine if one of your siblings got like a PS5 or like, you know, like a really cool gift, and your dad didn't get you anything? Yeah, like that's the kind of vibe that we're setting here, okay? So his dad favored Joseph a ton, and it was painfully obvious, and because of that, Joseph's brothers hated him, like hate, triple hated him. And it says in the Bible that they could not say a single kind word to him. And so they were picking on him, they were mocking him, they were berating him every single day. And guys, one day the bullying went too far. You see, Joseph's brothers decided they were gonna get rid of Joseph. And so they hatched this plan. They ended up kidnapping Joseph. They sold him to some people from a foreign country. They sold him as a slave to them, and then they went back to their dad because they had to explain what in the world happened to their brother. They went back and they said he got eaten by wild animals. Yikes. Like, that is bullying gone way too far. I can imagine him sitting there and thinking, my story is over, my life will never get any better, my brothers ruined my life. But guys, what I love about Joseph's story is that it doesn't end there. You see, God was present with Joseph in the middle of all the junk. And he gave him opportunity after opportunity until one day Joseph wasn't a slave in Egypt anymore. Joseph was second in authority. He was the second most powerful person in Egypt. And one day he would come face to face with his brothers again. A famine had hit the surrounding countries of Egypt where Joseph was second in command. And so people were coming to him every day saying, hey, we need food. We are starving. Can we please buy some food from you? And so one day his brothers came to Joseph to beg for food. And now guys, this was Joseph's chance for revenge. And if you've ever been bullied, if you've ever been picked on, it's easy to feel like revenge is the answer. And it's easy to take your insecurities, your hurt feelings out and hurt other people. Joseph had his chance for revenge, and that's not what he did. So we need to look at the conversation. We need to see what Joseph responded to his brothers with. So let's check out Genesis chapter 50, verse 18. And so in Genesis chapter 50, verse 18, it says that his brothers came and threw themselves down before Joseph. And they said, look, we are your slaves. But Joseph replied, don't be afraid of me. Am I God that I can punish you? You intended to harm me, but God intended it all for good. He brought me to this position so that I could save the lives of many people. No, don't be afraid. I will continue to take care of you and your children. So he reassured them by speaking kindly to them. Joseph had a chance for revenge. He had a chance to continue the hurtful cycle, guys. His brothers' lives were in his hands. He could let them starve. He could send them to prison. He could do whatever he wanted to, and no one would have blamed him. He didn't take out his hurt feelings on his brothers. He reassured them. He said, I will take care of you. And he spoke kindly to them. And so, guys, there are two powerful truths that we can pull out of that conversation. The first is that whether you're being bullied or you're being a bully, empathy is for everyone. Joseph's brothers, they were the clear bully in that scenario, right? They were the ones who ruined Joseph's life, or so it seemed. They were the ones who made decisions. They took their hurt feelings, their jealousy, their bitterness out on Joseph. And they did things that seemed like they were going to ruin Joseph's life. But then they realized the pain that they caused him. They understood the pain that they caused him. And they said, Joseph, we sold you as a slave. Please forgive us. We will be your slaves. We are so sorry. They fell on their knees and begged Joseph for forgiveness. So they had empathy for the person that they hurt, and that led them to ask for forgiveness. And then you have Joseph, who was the clear victim in that scenario, right? He was the one whose life was seemingly ruined by his brother's hateful actions. And you know what he did? He understood the jealousy that his brothers were wrestling with, and he also understood the terrible situation that they were in because of this famine. And he had empathy for them, which led him to forgive them. The second thing that we can pull out of this conversation, guys, is that bullying is not the end of anyone's story. Bullying doesn't have to be the end of your story. Joseph was sitting there as a slave and he felt like his life was over, but God was with him. And if you are sitting here right now and you feel like your life has been ruined by some people who are picking on you, whether it's cyberbullying, bullying in person, whether it's physical or verbal bullying, if you're sitting here and you want to isolate, you don't want to go to school anymore, your story is not over. God is with you in the middle of this. And if you're here today and you're feeling some guilt and some shame because of the actions that you took that have been hurting other people, realize that your story isn't over either. Because God had a plan for Joseph, and God had a plan for Joseph's brothers as well. And so what you guys need to understand is that bullies still belong. Your story is not over just because of something you said or something you did. God still loves you. It is not too late for you to turn and to ask for forgiveness. It is not too late for you to stop what you've been doing, to ask God for forgiveness, and to ask the person who you've been hurting for forgiveness. So this week, do you need to have empathy for someone who's been treating you harshly? Or do you need to have empathy for someone that you've been treating harshly? Do you need to ask for forgiveness? Or do you need to extend forgiveness? Think about it this week. Thanks for joining us, guys. We'll see you next week.